Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. Sloppy, slushy mess. Another tiring commute and what's to come. Plus, BC heading into the red in its latest budget.
I wouldn't say we don't care about deficits.
Big spending on healthcare and housing, but what's missing? And the researched benefits of Bhangra.
I have more energy each day to run and stuff.
Why it could help some kids more at risk of heart disease.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Well, we're on the cusp of March, but today BC's south coast was once again covered in a fresh blanket of snow, leading to chaos on our roads and delays for transit and air travel. Good evening, I'm Anita Bathe. A lengthy morning commute for many travelers in Metro Vancouver today as snow and ice snarled roads. Conditions did improve throughout the day, but temperatures are expected to drop again tonight. Our John Hernandez joins us live near Highway 1 and Hastings Street. John, what are the roads looking like this evening?
A lot better than they did this morning, Anita. The snow started coming down last night and really piled on through the morning. And as we've seen plenty of times in Metro Vancouver, that doesn't take much to turn those streets into icy, slushy messes. Most travelers here don't need a whole lot of words to describe their morning commute.
Awful, just awful.
Treacherous.
Absolute hell.
It took Amy Heron nearly 3 hours to get from South Vancouver to a medical clinic on Broadway.
I transferred to Knight Street and was waiting for the bus there, and a huge truck went by and I got soaked with slush and ice water from here all the way to my toes.
While others waited for buses and trains that simply never came.
It wasn't possible to go on the transit because there was no transit at all. So we have to walk all the way to over there in the snow, so it was horrible.
TransLink says the snow and ice caused heavy delays through the morning, while temporary road closures, including northbound traffic on the Lionsgate Bridge, also forced buses to reroute before later reopening.
Service has resumed in Vancouver, although there will be delays. TransLink is, as you know, always in constant communication with municipalities, recommending which roads most need salting and plowing.
While a number of university campuses stayed open, snow accumulation on roads up to Burnaby Mountain forced SFU to make a last-minute decision to close its campus for the day.
I thought that they were going to send out something a little bit sooner, but that didn't happen, so I was a little bit, frazzled in the morning.
Conditions improved through much of the afternoon, reducing snow and ice to puddles and slush on many roads. But Environment Canada warns temperatures could drop again overnight.
We're going to drop below freezing, so definitely icy conditions for tomorrow morning's commute, so definitely be aware of that.
Another potential curveball that some have grown accustomed to.
Bundle up, make sure you're going to be nice and toasty, and expect the unusual. And then go on your journey.
Now, the weather conditions have improved through the day quite a bit. The roads are looking pretty good. A very similar story at YVR, which did experience quite a number of airport delays through the day. Officials there say that full service departures and arrivals are expected this evening. Anita.
John Hernandez live for us tonight at Hastings near Highway 1. Thank you. Well, the snow also brought public transit in Victoria to a brief standstill, much to the frustration of some users. 5 to 10 centimeters blanketed the region overnight, making driving a challenge. Police responded to 5 crashes between 6 and 7 a.m. BC Transit temporarily suspended service in Victoria. Many routes were not fully serviced until just before noon. Advocates say BC Transit doesn't take snow seriously enough.
The provincial government has committed to having 25% less driving by 2030 as part of their Clean BC climate plan. If transit isn't reliable, there's no way that we're going to get all these thousands and thousands of people to stop driving and take transit.
BC Transit says it did not make the decision to suspend service lightly. In contrast, Victoria's school district remained open, and instead of stopping bus service, it added more. Well, given that it's so late in the winter season, it's easy to see how some people may have been caught off guard by the recent snow days, especially when it comes to their footwear. From boots to sneakers, we hit the streets today to find out how people are avoiding soggy socks and keeping toes toasty.
I have winter boots, but I packed them up. So I decided to wear sneakers. And basically, I'm from Russia, and this weather is not new to me.
I'm from Alberta, so sensible footwear is a must. Yeah. Everyone hates soggy feet. I don't know what they're doing.
I could have better shoes, I guess, for the snow. Yeah, a lot of people here that I know also don't have good shoes, but having stuff that's not waterproof at least sometimes catches me off guard just because it rains here a lot.
They're great. I wear them all the time. I'm from the interior, so we get snow all the time. This is mild, and yeah, I enjoy winter, so it's fine. And the snow, yeah, the boots are comfortable and they keep the snow out.
These like waterproof shoes, and they're holding up really well actually. So I don't know, because they're made the same as my jackets, but yesterday I wore Nikes. Not a smart choice. Not at all. The shoes don't make it summer.
I got a chuckle. Those shoes are slippers. My husband has those as slippers.
Those are strictly for putting the garbage out. That's as far as you can go outside.
Yeah, I'm not sure how waterproof they actually are.
They're not.
No.
They're comfy, though. I can see why she just didn't want to give them up.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have some better footwear than that, Amy.
Yes, ready for it. You won't need it so much tonight, though. What you're going to need, though, is a warm jacket because it will be getting cold. We've seen partial clearing in the last several hours, so we're done with that snow, but we're going to see those cool temperatures. Right now, we're sitting at 2 in Abbotsford, 3 at the airport. We'll get down to about -2 overnight. So all that slush that didn't melt today, we'll be dealing with lots of ice overnight and early tomorrow. What we need to keep an eye on, though, is the next couple of days. Wednesday night, so tomorrow we'll see some showers, and then overnight into Thursday, we do have a special weather statement. We could see some snowfall, especially at those higher elevations. So again, the Thursday morning commute could be a bit of a dicey one. Once we move past that, though, we head into warmer and wetter weather. So we'll see showers on Friday, and then looking ahead for the weekend, we are looking at milder temperatures up around 5 or 6 degrees. But the trade-off is we are going to have a lot of snow for most of the province, though tomorrow definitely a little more settled, just holding on to those cooler temperatures and just waiting to see if we get some more snow Wednesday night.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Amy. Thank you. Well, Friday night's explosion in downtown Vancouver caused thousands of dollars in damage to a local coffee shop. The company's CEO says they won't fully reopen for months, adding the damage could have been much worse.
It's just unbelievable. Like if somebody was walking by, they would have been incinerated. If it had been the summer, we would have had at that time of day potentially people sitting on our patio.
The explosion has been linked to a BC Hydro electrical vault. The owner says BC Hydro should help cover costs and lost employee wages. BC Hydro says the explosion was a rare occurrence and it is investigating the cause.
It's too early to say what caused the fire, but investigating the root cause is a top priority for us, but it's going to take some time. We've preserved the equipment that was destroyed, and we're going to send it to a third party for a thorough analysis as part of our investigation. Our equipment is designed to be in place safely for many decades and is inspected regularly. So age is not what could have led to something like this, and that's why the investigation into the cause is of the utmost importance.
The coffee shop owner says he is trying to find work for his employees at other locations. Well, police are analyzing an explosive device found near a fast food restaurant in Kelowna yesterday.
Last night, the EDU team rendered the IED safe. Our initial investigation has shown that the IED is not linked to any other incidents throughout the city or the province, and there is no evidence that this was a targeted event. Regardless, we take this matter very seriously.
RCMP say investigators are running forensic tests on the device to figure out what was inside and its intended purpose. A passerby found it in a grassy area outside a Wendy's restaurant, causing Highway 97 to be shut down for several hours. If the device had been activated, police say it would have detonated. Well, a Toronto man is speaking out after Vancouver cops shot him twice. They used so-called less lethal rounds, and it was all in a case of mistaken identity. And the incident left him in excruciating pain. Police say their officers messed up when they shot him, and top brass have apologized. But as Liam Britton reports, the victim says that's not good enough.
The damage was physical and psychological.
I have nightmares. Being outside by myself is really a lot. I've never really had to feel so hyper aware of my surroundings before, and I can't relax.
40-year-old Elijah Barnett came to Vancouver for a relaxing visit with friends and family, but he's leaving with severe bruises, the result of a traumatic experience. Barnett was walking a friend's dog on Richard Street downtown around 5:20 Wednesday afternoon. That's when police surrounded him. He says he never got a chance to explain himself before they started shooting.
They shot first, asked questions later, 100%. They didn't approach me, nobody approached me at all.
Barnett says he was slammed with beanbag rounds. Police called them rubber bullets. Either way, he was badly injured. Police arrested him. He didn't have his wallet with ID on him. A police dog was barking in his face. Barnett says the ordeal lasted hours. Paramedics had to attend to him, and police eventually let him go.
It was just face down on the street in front of everybody. It was terrifying.
The shooting happened here, near the corner of Richards and Pacific. Now, VPD say they've apologized to Barnett, and they are confirming that the incident was a case of mistaken identity. Vancouver police say they thought Barnett was a different man who was wanted on a Canada-wide warrant for a violent home invasion in Calgary. They thought he may have been armed with a gun.
We believed that we were arresting that suspect. Obviously, we weren't, and that's an unfortunate situation. We didn't realize that until after the arrest had been made.
Barnett has filed a complaint with the Office of the Police Complaints Commissioner. That watchdog confirmed VPD also reported the use of a less lethal gun injury as required, adding there will be an investigation into the circumstances surrounding this incident under the civilian oversight of the OPCC, and a police agency will be assigned in due course. The use of so-called less lethal weapons by VPD drew concern last year. Chris Amiot, an Ojibwe father of 8, died after being shot with a beanbag in August. Police say they tried to de-escalate. Community members are doubtful. The Independent Investigations Office is probing that incident. Barnett believes he's lucky he was only injured.
The police in Vancouver are out of control. They've been out of control for a really long time, and this just goes to show. I feel really violated.
Barnett wants the cops involved to be reprimanded, suspended, and banned from using weapons ever again. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
A new study at UBC has been looking at the cardiovascular health of the South Asian community and studying the potential benefits of Bhangra dancing for kids. The results are still preliminary, but as Michelle Gassoub reports, they suggest major improvements in the heart health of South Asian children.
In a dance studio tucked away in Surrey, the music is blasting and the moves heart-pumping. This isn't just a regular dance class. It's also part of Project Bhangra, a UBC pilot study looking at how to improve the cardiovascular health of South Asian children. 156 kids aged 8 to 11 took Bhangra classes twice a week for 7 months to improve their cardio health, and the early results are promising.
We also saw improvements in vertical jump height, and that really measures muscle strength and power, as well as waist circumference, a reduction in waist circumference and body mass index.
South Asian children are at higher risk of heart disease compared to other children due to a combination of lifestyle and genetic factors, but exercise can be a powerful antidote to pre-existing risks.
Power actually is using from your legs, from your toes, from your calves, from your thighs, right?
UBC's early findings showed that after months of these classes, the kids can jump higher and run more laps in a timed beep test. But the instructors found there are even more benefits, like increased self-confidence and new friendships.
The parents always come up to us, hey, our kid cannot go outside, talk to anybody, sits in the room all the time. But after a couple of months, it changes the whole scenario. The kid is more outgoing, more talkative.
What's your favorite move? Should I show you? Yeah, show me. That confidence also caught on camera.
Before, I wasn't that strong and I didn't know how to do the moves, and now I know how to do all the moves. I've been coming for a long time, and Then when I'm doing exercise and hard moves, then I can get stronger. I have more energy each day to like run and stuff because of Bhangra.
Project Bhangra is now hoping to continue the research and expand the pilot from 4 schools to 20.
It really makes me happy that we were able to come up with an exercise, again, that it's culturally based. Parents love it, kids love it.
A way to connect to culture and build healthy habits, all while having fun. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Surrey.
Awesome stuff. Okay, after last year's surplus, a $4.2 billion budget deficit is on the way for British Columbia. The provincial government unveiling its spending priorities today for this next year. Healthcare is seeing the most money with $6.4 billion in spending. This includes services for people with substance use issues, mostly towards treatment and recovery beds. The next highest spending is on housing and reducing homelessness, a price tag of $4.2 billion. But what are the key elements for you? Well, the K-12 food program in schools is being expanded. The BC Family Benefit is going up between $75 and $750 a year. BC will become the first in Canada to offer free birth control. A new $400 renter's tax credit is also coming, and the maximum climate action tax credit is going up. But that comes with an increase to the province's carbon tax, that extra fee you pay at the gas pump. Mira Baines is live in Victoria tonight. She's been following the budget all day. Mira, let's start with that renter's tax credit. Who qualifies?
Anita, this is really a targeted measure to help with the cost of living. It's aimed at low to moderate income earners. So that means households that make under $60,000 a year will qualify for a $400 a year tax credit. Up to $80,000 a year, they'll receive a partial tax credit. So this was promised in the form of a rebate 6 years ago, but we're seeing it as a tax credit now. That's roughly $33 a month in a tax credit. So UBC professor with Generation Squeeze, Paul Kershaw, says it doesn't go far enough. He says what really needs to happen in BC is to stall housing prices. Take a listen.
I think the renter's tax credit delivers on a promise made in an election campaign from the past. I think delivering on promises matters. I think what is will $400 a year transform the ability for people to afford rent in this province? Absolutely not. But it's, one additional incremental help.
Mira, I have to point out the obvious here. Big deficit. There's a lot of spending in this budget.
That's right, Anita, a lot of spending. And BC Finance Minister Katrina Conroy said there's a lot of spending on families and lower income earners to help with affordability. She says there's a slowing economy and that's on the horizon. This year, the economy is expected to grow about 0.4%. So that's little to no growth. But then we also see that there's an election coming in October 2024. So this is really a pre-election budget, if you will. As you mentioned, there are a lot of affordability measures for renters, for families, for school kids. And for example, we're even seeing a free contraception for women. And some low-income earning women are facing the difficult choice of choosing between contraception and groceries. It's about $25 a month. This is what one advocate had to say.
There's such a direct link between period poverty and menstrual health. And so the ability now to actually have accessible contraception is just such an incredible step forward, I think, for people who are facing poverty, who are trying to deal with complex menstrual health issues. And so we're happy to see that today.
And we should mention that Premier David Eby still has a significant surplus from last year to spend until the end of March. He has about $3 billion. So we should be seeing more spending announcements in the coming weeks.
Mira Baines live tonight in Victoria covering the BC budget. Thanks, Mira. Now, critics are slamming the budget for not including anything for small business while increasing tax responsibilities.
We are giving this budget overall a C- in the areas of tax competitiveness, economic vision, and fiscal prudence. And it comes at a time where costs have already been increasing for businesses, including things like the employer health tax, $2.7 billion this year. Our members have been calling for a reduction in the cost of doing business for a very long time. And instead, we're seeing these increasing costs like the massive carbon tax increase.
That's Bridget Anderson with the Vancouver Board of Trade. Stick with us through this short break because right after we are going to talk to we're going to talk about healthcare spending in this province. Former BC Health Minister Terry Lake joins us live to break it all down. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream tonight. In Ottawa, a struggle between a Somali soccer group and the Eastern Ontario Soccer Association has left dozens of young players on the sidelines. A rule introduced last year by soccer authorities states players must wear jerseys of sanctioned clubs, but the team says this effectively eliminates their identity.
Soccer, it means to me, it's the passion, the love I have for this sport. Like, I could run around, get tired sometimes, and I could kick a ball, It's something that I've really appreciated over the time.
This logo represented one of the highest mountains in Somalia. That is not only for sports, but it is for them to aim higher points.
To be honest, it means a family to me, where I could play with anyone I want.
It's a disappointment that the players cannot play with their identity. It is sad, it is disappointed, and not having that logo means we have no identity.
It's just far easier to have a simple rule in that you wear your club uniform without insignias, without that stuff, and make it universal for everyone.
Without that identity, without that sort of name, the players and the families have no connection. It defeats the purpose of trying to bring these new players into the community of soccer. And without that, they don't have identity.
Just before the break, we were talking BC budget, a big deficit this time around with much of the spending going to healthcare in this province. Former BC Liberal Health Minister and current CEO of the BC Care Providers Association, Terry Lake, is live with us now. Terry, billions more going toward healthcare than we've ever seen in the past. What do you make of that? Is it good enough given the state of our system?
Well, it's a lot of money, Anita. The health budget now is something like $25 billion. About 6 years ago, that was only $18 billion. So quite a rise in the last few years. And the announced increases of about $6.3 billion over the next 3 years means at least in the first year, that's an increase of 8.5%. And I can't remember a time when the healthcare budget was increased by that much. Now, inflation, of course, has something to do with that. There's increased pressures on the system with an aging population. So it remains to be seen whether that's enough or not, but it's certainly a lot of money.
There's also a big priority on mental health and addictions here. We do know, though, there's an immediate need. Will this plan meet that, or will it be too late for our most vulnerable?
Well, that's, again, it's all in the execution. You've got to build complex care centers. You've got to staff long-term care or complex care centers before you can start helping people. So, and I think well recognized in this budget was $1 billion toward the health human resources strategy, because you can pledge all the money you want, but if you can't fill those spaces with people to provide that service, then it's not going to happen. So a big focus on the HR side of things, which is appropriate.
You're the CEO of the BC Care Providers Association. With our aging population, and it is aging quite a bit, are you happy with how long-term care has been covered off here?
Well, I can't say that I'm happy that seniors care, their well-being really wasn't mentioned in the budget speech. You have to dig deep into the budget document itself and into the ministry service plans to find mention of it. There's something like 600 new beds for long-term care, but those won't be ready for 4 or 5 years. And so I fear that we are not addressing the needs of the seniors care population. And unless we fix long-term care and home care, as the seniors advocate announced last week in her report, we're going to back up the system so you can build all the hospitals in the world, but they'll just be plugged up by people that need more appropriate care in a different place.
You know, every day we hear stories of people who are struggling to navigate our healthcare system. They're being left behind. They're being diagnosed too late. How hopeful are you that things are going to change in this province anytime soon?
Well, again, you just have to wait and see. I want to be optimistic, but I know when I had that job, you have to be optimistic, but it's hard. You can't just throw money at a problem and expect it to get better. We've got $1 billion going to doctors with a new family doctor payment method. We'll see. Will that mean more people get access to a physician, or will it mean just more money for those doctors that are already there? But we've got to be innovative. Increasing scope of practice for pharmacists is part of that. But we really have to use everyone at the top of their abilities. And, that doesn't necessarily mean more money. It means doing things better.
Former BC Liberal Health Minister and current CEO of the BC Care Providers Association, Terry Lake, thank you so much for joining us live tonight.
Thanks, Anita.
It remains one of the most popular apps on the planet, but TikTok is facing new scrutiny today, this time from the BC government. We'll tell you about the latest attempts to ban the video sharing app from the workplace next.
Low-paying jobs are the fastest-growing industry in Canada. They increased by 33% between 1981 and 1986, and that trend is continuing. At McDonald's, nearly a quarter of its 8,000 BC employees earn the minimum wage. If they're over 18, that's $4.50 an hour. All told, about 65,000 BC workers earn the minimum wage, and some say that's a scandal.
Minimum wages in North America are generally a scandal and have been for the last decade, and the reason is because governments have just been abandoning them to inflation.
Jean Swanson says BC's minimum wage in 1975 provided an income above the poverty line. Since then, it's fallen below. Last night at a meeting in Kamloops, Cabinet Minister Claude Richmond, who's in charge of welfare, not the minimum wage, unexpectedly announced the rate would soon be going up to $5 an hour. The Premier, who was at the meeting, was surprised, but didn't deny it.
Well, it seemed as though there was some sort of an announcement along that line. I would like to leave confirmation of this with the Minister of Labour, but obviously it's being considered.
This morning, the minister actually responsible for the minimum wage responded.
Well, we're always reviewing the minimum wage. Why do you ask the question?
Well, apparently Mr. Richmond said it would be going up to $5 this summer. Is that your understanding of it?
There's been no decision to do that.
I think it's clearly a matter of political gamesmanship, and I think the small business doesn't appreciate it.
And Oksana Excel, who represents many people who pay the minimum wage, says the rate should stay where it is.
First of all, the minimum wage went up just 8 months ago. So first of all, the timing's bad. It's too soon, and it's too much. In fact, what we're seeing is a 25% increase in a very short period of time, and it will put BC at the top in terms of provincial rates across the country.
But over at the Hospitality Industry Education Advisory Committee, where many of those who work in low-paying service industry jobs are trained, there's a feeling the rate should go up.
You have to pay your medical bills and your rent and your food, and if you have a child or two, you have to look after them. How are you going to do it out of $4.50?
People should not have to work and still be in poverty. We should not be a society that demands that our citizens become slaves in order to pay the rent.
Meanwhile, over at McDonald's, a spokesman said if the minimum rate does go up to $5 an hour, the restaurant will have no choice but to make the price of a Big Mac even bigger. Rod Mickelborough, CBC News, Vancouver.
Concerns over China's connections to TikTok are prompting even more bans tonight, with the BC government as well as other provinces joining the federal government barring the video sharing app from work phones. Anis Haidari takes a closer look at those concerns and what it means for you.
It is absolutely horrifying. Tyra Blizzard posts videos about social issues all over the internet.
There's data and privacy concerns with every social media app. And I think singling out TikTok is creating a lot of confusion.
That's why it took me so long to realize. More institutions are banning TikTok from work phones. So she's not sure what comes next.
I'm personally not going to delete the app. And I'm a little bit concerned about what this will mean for banning TikTok in the future for others. I don't think that's going to happen, but I actually have no idea.
Quebec, British Columbia, and Alberta are just some of the provinces banning TikTok from devices over security concerns. Political parties, the Mint, and the Bank of Canada have done the same. That's after the federal government did the same thing without citing evidence. But any social media app can be a risk, say cybersecurity experts.
Are you okay with the information that you're putting into that particular application being shared with, governments that may not be friendly to whatever topics may be discussed?
TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, and there are concerns it could turn data over to the government there.
Governments abroad, across the pond, across the border, locally within, some of our jurisdictions in Canada are all saying, we're not sure where this information is going.
Canada's moves match similar ones in the US and European Union.
The fact that we're hearing governments come forward in the United States and Canada and banning TikTok raises the question, how much of this is about the app and how much of this is about the relationship with the country?
If those national relationships don't change, the app itself might.
If they have to make changes to interfere with your privacy less, they will lose money. So they may be looking for new revenue streams.
TikTok says the moves to block it are a baseless trend. But with millions of Canadians on the platform, if it's mostly government workers blocked from using their work phones, TikTok may not lose enough viewers to bother changing much. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
A panel looking into the 2021 federal election has found there was foreign interference, but not enough to threaten Canadian democracy. As Catherine Cullen explains, there are particular concerns with China and its motivations.
In the last federal election, there were attempts at foreign interference, but not significant enough that it's believed to have affected the integrity of the election overall. That is the conclusion from a panel of experts looking at the 2021 election. This report comes some 18 months after that vote, and it comes in the middle of a lot of controversy. Global News and the Globe and Mail have both reported on instances in the last two elections where it's believed that officials with the Chinese Communist Party were trying to influence the result in particular ridings. There's also controversy about the author of the report, Morris Rosenberg. He's a former senior civil servant, but he's also the former head of the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation, named after the Prime Minister's late father. And according to reporting in the Globe and Mail, that foundation was used, or at least attempted to be used, by the Chinese Communist Party. They directed a significant donation to the foundation in hopes of currying favor with Justin Trudeau. Now, the Prime Minister's office has said that as soon as Justin Trudeau became leader of the Liberal Party, he distanced himself from the foundation. The Liberals have said that Canadians can have confidence in the work that was done by nonpartisan civil servants here, but the Conservatives have said that all of this undermines the report itself. One of the conclusions of this report, it is interesting to note, is a recommendation to consider clearer communication with the public around election integrity, specifically the question of what happens if a foreign power or anyone tries to interfere in a specific riding. Even if it doesn't affect the election results overall, should that be communicated to Canadians? Certainly something that will be hotly debated and considered as this controversy over foreign influence continues. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
A group of Republican lawmakers in the States has their sights on Canada's border, establishing the so-called Northern Border Security Caucus. They want to focus on immigration, crime, and national security along the Canada-U.S. border.
Our borders are virtually unprotected. They are wide open. And at some point, somebody has to do to help the Customs Border Patrol and the Border Patrol. Just think they are unmanned, they're unfunded, and they're not equipped to do the job that we're asking them to do. But they come out every day to do that to protect us.
The caucus members say Canada's visa procedures are not as stringent as in the U.S. and claim that makes it easier for illegal migrants and drugs to enter the states. They're calling for Washington to send more money, more guards, and more technology to the northern border.
Hey, we gotta go. Hey. My partner's calling me, asking for Narcan.
We're less than a month into new policy that sees small amounts of illicit drugs decriminalized here in BC. But what can we learn from other jurisdictions that made the move sooner? That's after the break.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back. Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
While the snowfall may have been inconvenient to most of us, it was a good chance to pause and reflect on the beauty of nature. These sea lions at the Vancouver Aquarium were more than delighted to wake up to the snow. This video shows the sea lions observing the weather with a curiosity and a love for nature. We could all use a bit of it. The big sea lion is Rogue, and the pup is Natoa. They also have a sea otter named Mac. I think that's Mac, that last picture. Adorable. Oh my goodness.
At least somebody enjoyed the snow.
Yeah, I think most people were sick of it this time around.
I think so. Well, let's hear it for the sea lions.
Let's hear it for the sea lions. And so are we getting more snow is the question?
Not tonight, but we do have another chance of seeing some snow tomorrow night. But for tonight, what we're going to be dealing with is all that snow and slush that accumulated and didn't melt this morning or this afternoon is now going to freeze over. So that could cause some big issues for the roads and, of course, for early morning travel. As I mentioned, though, our next shot at getting some snow, they've set up a snowfall statement. Not a warning just yet, but that's for Wednesday night, overnight in through Thursday morning. You can see this band of precipitation while it moves across the province, and where that's blue, that's where it's going to be cold enough for it to snow. So we'll see it along the north coast and moving in through the interior. We could see anywhere from 5 to 10 centimeters Wednesday night in through Thursday morning. At this stage in the game, that's what the models are predicting, but we will keep an eye on that and track it throughout the day tomorrow. Overnight, as I mentioned, it's the cold weather that we're going to be dealing with. So very chilly, will drop down below zero. And then tomorrow we will see a few showers. And then again, overnight, as we see that colder air mass dropping down, that's when we'll see that risk of some snow. What we're looking at is wet weather across the island for tomorrow. So Tofino, Comox, still a little bit chilly, just a high of 4 for the Comox area. A bit of sunshine in Nanaimo and Victoria later in the day, and then, earlier in the morning before those showers roll in. And then a chance of flurries in Whistler, and also could see some wet snow in the afternoon out in Hope. We'll just see that temperature dropping a little bit sooner. A few flurries for Dease Lake, just a high of -2, a mix of rain and snow for Prince Rupert, and then we will see heavier rain for Port Hardy, looking great though, with just some light flurries for the Williams Lake area. In the Kootenays, we're looking at mainly cloudy but staying dry, and for Kelowna, we could see some wet flurries early in the morning, and then that'll transition over to some showers, but also we'll see a chance of some sunny breaks. For the next several days, we'll see that shower activity tomorrow with the high of 3, and then overnight as we drop down close to 0, we could see it changing over to snow, especially for those higher elevations. And then Thursday morning, that could be the next time that we really have some issues with the morning commute. With some snow, it transitions over though to rain, and then much warmer for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it'll be wet, but you won't be having that risk of snow any longer.
Yeah, but that definitely is some intense shower activity.
It is. Keep the umbrella handy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the world is getting warmer because of climate change, but then why do we continue to see such intense snowstorms? Though it may seem like a contradiction, our Johanna Wagstaff is explaining how it's actually all connected. Have a look.
I know what you're thinking. If the planet is warming, shouldn't we be seeing less snow and therefore less snowstorms? Well, turns out we are seeing less snow on average, but our snowstorms are supercharged. How does that work? Hang on for this science ride. So first of all, we are getting less snow overall, but a warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture. It's one of the reasons why our rainstorms are becoming more intense with climate change. Also, more snow falls when temperatures are just below the freezing mark rather than when it's extremely cold. So areas of the world that are cold enough to get snow are warming to a temperature that they're actually seeing snowfall events coming down with more precipitation. Warmer oceans are also a factor. Warmer waters off the coast of Atlantic Canada are actually providing more energy for the temperature difference that actually drives those nor'easter storms in wintertime. Also, this. As the Arctic warms much faster than the rest of the world, new research is finding a connection to a weakened polar vortex. The band of strong winds that forms above the Arctic every winter is what encloses a large pool of extremely cold air. It's the temperature difference between this cold air and the air of the mid-latitudes that drives the speed of this circulation. It's basically a fence that keeps the coldest air up there. But as this Arctic warms and gets closer in temperature to those mid-latitudes, the polar vortex gets weaker and meanders more, stretching down to the south. More research is needed to make this connection a definitive one, but that meandering air is being cited as an explanation for recent freezing temperatures in snow in places like Texas. Global climate models actually project an increase in the extreme snowfall events across most of North America, but in other parts of the world, like Western Europe, they project an increase in winter rain rather than snow.
It's been a month since BC decriminalized small amounts of hard drugs. But for the state of Oregon, it's been 2 years. And with that time comes lessons learned. Lindsay Duncombe has more on what's happening south of the border and why some say decriminalization needs more time to make a difference.
This is Portland, Oregon, 2 years after decriminalizing personal amounts of hard drugs. The open drug use, the deaths, worse than ever.
Where are we here now?
This is Skidmore Fountain, which has been called Fentanyl Fountain by some of the folks that we've interacted with.
Police officer David Bayer patrols downtown. Measure 110, the ballot initiative that brought in decriminalization, changed his job.
See this guy right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, watch this.
What's he doing?
He's probably smoking fentanyl. See that?
Yeah.
And we're like, we're in what's basically a police car. It's unmarked, but like, we're pretty obviously the police. Hi there, put that knife away, please. What are you smoking?
Betty.
Okay, just powder fentanyl?
Yeah.
Is that what you drop right there?
Yeah.
Right there? Yeah. Can you pick that up so someone else doesn't find it or a kid doesn't find that, please?
Under Measure 110, Bayer writes a $100 ticket. The fine will be waived if this man phones a treatment hotline.
Hey, man. No, number to call in the back for treatment. Right on. Good luck to you.
Yeah, it's just a citation for drug possession.
And it's got that phone number on there, so you could call for treatment, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you think he'll call?
Most likely, yeah. About a 50-50 shot, yeah.
A recent audit found just 1% of people receiving tickets have actually called the hotline.
I got Narcan on my way. Hey, we gotta go. Okay. My partner's calling me, asking for Narcan.
Okay. And that means
someone's overdosing. Yeah, you just asked for it on the radio.
How often does this happen?
Every day.
Yeah.
But still, 2 people a day die from drug overdoses in Oregon. British Columbia's death toll is 3 times that. Decriminalization hasn't brought those numbers down.
Chase, wake up, buddy. There you go. Thanks.
Now I can say we used it.
He's gotten Narcan 4 milligrams in the left nostril.
In the first year, opioid overdose deaths rose 52%.
When did you guys last deal with him?
Yesterday.
Do you guys Narcan him?
Yes.
Okay. So he's up and off. It's very likely we see him again.
Sad.
Yeah. Yep. And I've known that guy for 3 years, and I've frankly seen his decline because he used to just use meth, and now every day he's out here using fentanyl, and this is the second day in a row we've Narcaned him. We're blocking traffic. Let's get on. Let's get moving here.
A few blocks away, another patrol. Anisha Cochran-Dumas is a recovering addict and peer counselor.
That's a large.
She believes Measure 110 will save lives eventually.
Before, we couldn't afford to come and meet them where they are. Like, hey, we know you using, but we still want to give you something of value to make it through this day.
Everything she's handing out was purchased thanks to Measure 110.
Do you want some panties?
Money from cannabis sales goes to groups serving people with addiction.
What would you say to the critics of Measure 110 when they say it's not working?
I would say that that's a selfish point of view and that they don't really care about everybody, that these are the people that they drive by, they won't give $1 to, they don't see them, they think less of them. And I feel like these people are me because I used to be out here too. This is the park where I used to get high in, you know what I'm saying? And when I come through here and they see me, they know I used to get high here because they used to get high with me. So when they see me, they feel hope. Because they be like, if she can do it, I could do it.
Supporters of the program argue addiction and recovery take time. Tom Stromer has been clean for 9 months.
Well, I've been trying to stay clean since I was 21. I'm 44 now, and so for me, it took a lot of pain to finally make the decision that that's not what I wanted. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I felt, and so I used to not feel and try to die, to be honest with you.
But in Portland's downtown, patience is wearing thin. Paul Watts owns a graffiti cleaning business.
I have the Canadian National News with me.
Oh, hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
They're decriminalizing all hard drugs.
Don't do it. Yeah, how come?
What do you think?
You tell me.
It enforces, it encourages them to do more.
Yeah, are you seeing that happen here?
Seen it.
Yeah.
It's exploded.
Has it, eh?
And it's gotten cheaper. So now it's not only more drug use, it's cheaper drug use, and that means they're staying on the streets longer.
Police believe there's some truth to that.
Nothing? Just meth? Okay.
Since decriminalization, what's been the impact on the price of drugs?
A couple years ago, we would interact with people and we'd be like, hey, one blue fentanyl pill, and they'd be like, oh, $5, $10. That's recently come down. We've talked to folks last week that say they're buying it for $1 a pill, or they're trading aluminum cans, which are worth 10 cents in Oregon.
Aluminum can?
Well, yeah, in Oregon, if every time you buy a can, there's a 10-cent can deposit, and you can return it at the grocery store for 10 cents. I had a guy last week be like, oh yeah, like these guys that I buy my drugs from will take cans in exchange for drugs.
That's cheap.
It's extremely cheap, yeah.
Decriminalization came in the middle of a pandemic as fentanyl flooded the country. It can be argued without Measure 110, Oregon's epidemic may have been worse, but it's unclear if the new law is doing much to make it better.
There are similarities between the situation in Oregon and the situation in British Columbia, but there are also some significant differences. Oregon doesn't have the same kind of harm reduction services that BC does. No safe supply, no safe injection sites, although both jurisdictions do currently lack access to timely treatment. Anita?
Lindsay Duncombe, thank you. Coming up, we'll tell you more about a Vancouver tattoo parlor that's being described as a safe space for the queer community.
My name is Yue, and I'm a principal dancer in Canada's Royal Winnipeg Ballet, and we just got engaged.
Hello, my name is Chen Xing. I'm a principal dancer with Canada's Royal Winnipeg Ballet. Actually, we met in Winnipeg. We're both from China, but we didn't know each other while we were in China. So we came here as a aspirant, but I came here first, and then he came here like 3 years later than me. And yeah, we met.
In studio. Yeah, I feel really comfortable and relaxed with her. And then that time I was, in love with her.
I think after I saw him dancing, I was like, wow, this little guy is so incredible. I was like, whoa, like that moment, like catch my attention. I remember first time I told my dad that, a little boy likes me, but he's younger than me. And my dad was like, oh. And then he just like stood up and then walked away. I was like, oh.
But after, he likes me.
Yeah.
She told me she had a dream. Someone can propose to her on stage. And then, but that was a long, long time ago. And then I just keep that in my mind. And then after 7 years dating, I realized this year is the year. I was pretty nervous that time, yeah. I couldn't sleep.
It's his like moment to present me a flower, and then, but I saw it's a rose. Like I was like, wow, today's flower is different. So after he like presented me a flower, I got flower, and then I saw everybody like run off, and the spotlight came out, and I couldn't see anything because the spotlight is pretty bright. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, the proposal is happening. But that time, like my brain was like blank. I think I said yes, but I'm sure my head was like not. I was like, ooh. And I was like, what should I do?
We're gonna get married in 2024, around July, because that's the vacation time we have. So we're gonna do that in China.
Wedding, yes. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for the next 7 years.
We end our show tonight with a Vancouver-based artist who didn't feel comfortable getting tattoos at a traditional parlor. So he started his own, one where people from the queer community could be themselves without fear of being judged. Take a look.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. My name is James Slaughter, and I'm a tattoo artist. I think it's something that I was always interested in. I was getting tattoos at an early age, but there were always spaces that they were never comfortable. So they're primarily sort of like more straight male spaces, and not being a straight male, it sort of felt somewhat uncomfortable. And so it seemed very transactional. So I'd go into those spaces and I would get tattoos, and that was kind of it. I didn't really want to talk because I didn't want to sort of, I don't know, make the situation weird because this person is making a permanent mark on your body. So it wasn't until basically I started getting tattooed by women that I saw a space for myself, because it could be something different. In terms of making the space like queer focused, working in the queer community and people that get you, there's a lot of shorthand that's not needed. And I think also my experience of having been tattooed in spaces that maybe weren't, queer or outwardly queer, just kind of highlighted to me that other people would also appreciate being in spaces where there were other queer people, and just space where people are comfortable and feel like they can be themselves. I primarily focus on like figurative work, sort of emotion and intimacy, and because I sort of noticed that you don't see a lot of sort of romanticized images of men showing emotion, but I think to normalize men showing emotions, especially like sad emotions, and to have it be beautiful, to me, I thought was really important, and for me, resonated with myself personally, and also just to put those images out there. And I think I got a lot of response in people that were very supportive of that, because it wasn't something they'd seen before. Like a big part of this job for me is the connection that I have with people, and I want it to be a positive interaction because they're going to have this mark on their body for their entire lives. Okay, that's it. People get tattoos for all different kinds of reasons, and I think to be the person that is facilitating that is a really big responsibility, and I try to make them as comfortable as possible because I want them to sort of remember the experience as being a positive one. I feel really lucky that I get to do this as a living. It's not something I ever thought I would be able to do, especially focusing on like queer work. and working within the queer community. So I just feel really lucky every day that I get to do that.
Thanks for watching CBC Vancouver News tonight. Dan Burrett will be here at 11 o'clock with more local news after the national. We hope you have a wonderful evening.